think you're handing it off to me now, yeah?
Was that not clear?
Okay, so I think before I get started, I've met a few of you, but I would love some introductions, round of intros, just to get to know who's in the neighborhood. So what I would ask is if you could just share your name, maybe how long you've lived in Pinecrest, and something about your neighborhood that you really love. For those of us who don't live in it.
Oh, that sounds good.
I'm Brock, lived here for a little over 2 years, and didn't know a lot about the neighborhood before we moved in, but I love the community. It's been really nice, and just meeting people at the park and getting involved in the association. Feels like we're kind of part of the community, which we didn't have anywhere else we live, so it's nice.
And his wife painted the little library in the park.
Oh, sweet.
Please, darling. I'm Catherine. I've been in the neighborhood for 10 years, and I really love my neighbors. I haven't ever been in a place where I've known so many neighbors. So it's a treat.
And where exactly do you live?
Oh, I live on the north. You know where the park is? I'm on the north side in the stone house.
And that rock house is the oldest house in this neighborhood before the rest of the development was even a glimmer in some developer's eye.
I've seen this picture that just shows it with the Catalina Mountains in the background, and there's nothing else. No houses, no buildings. Yeah.
It used to be like a ranch over here.
Yeah, it was a bar, the Rock Pile. Well, a restaurant bar. Come see our fan dancer. That kind of place.
All right, I'm gonna have to go by your house.
All right, I guess I'll go next. I'm Dan Stormont. I've been in this neighborhood for 12 years. I'm Jana's husband. She's been here longer than me because she was here with her first husband and her kids, and I moved in later. But yeah, the thing I love about it, I think besides, I think it's really a tight-knit community, and I think that's a good thing. You know, we are able to talk to each other and get to know each other, and it's nice knowing the neighbors. And also I think Pinecrest Park is a real jewel right in the middle of our neighborhood. So that's part of why we named the neighborhood association after Pinecrest, because it's the center of this neighborhood association. And also looking back through the paperwork, I noticed that this was originally the Pinecrest development before it became part of the St. Cyril's neighborhood when they first made a neighborhood association. So when we revived the neighborhood association, we all agreed that St. Cyril's was too big. We didn't want to have to deal with something that ran all the way up to Grant, so we just made Pinecrest in what used to be the Pinecrest development.
I'm John. I just live at Stone's Throw up here in the corner of Arcadia and Bellevue. Been here a long, long time, actually, probably more than virtually everybody here.
50 years?
Huh?
50 years?
Do you know when you moved in?
Yeah, I do. 1952.
Oh,
Wow.
So quite a while. And I mean, there was virtually nothing to the east, or very little. And my hangout, of course, was the Arroyo, which, so I have kind of a passion for it. Seen it go through a lot of iterations, not altogether positive, but well, there's still some area out there. But yeah, I mean, my old home stomping grounds. Yeah.
I'm Ellie. I don't live in the neighborhood. I grew up a bit closer to downtown, but I'm here tonight also with Living Streets Alliance. I'm a little bit newer to the team, but I love talking about this stuff and here just to support and really get a little experience of what this conversation could look like and how we can help you, kind of identify things and dream up some ideas.
Ellie's our new Safe Routes to School manager, so her jam
Nice.
is working with kids.
And I like spaces to live in.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Joan. I live at, Helen and Arcadia on the corner. And I've been here probably over 40 years.
40?
40.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I was really young when I moved. No. And well, this is where my husband and I, spent most of our life. And because we both worked, and I worked, several jobs at the same time sometimes, and so I really didn't get involved with the community. I come from the Midwest, so you say hi to everybody, you go around the neighbors, but a lot of the neighbors, it took a long time. And since then, I've seen a lot of elderly people, they've died and they've gone on. And so my neighbors would always change. And so that's how I met them. I would go over there and bring them a cake or something. And, but, they had their lives too. So I like the thing of the community that I want to be involved, even though I don't have children. I think it's important for, kids to have someone to go to if they, the school and want to support them.
I'm Jane, and I moved into the area in 1992, so that's 33 years. I'm on Adams, the little piece that dead ends into Mountain View off of Swan, right? So when I moved in, I knew everybody on that block, and 2/3 of them were older and aren't there anymore, and the houses have switched, and as that's happened, there are several, I think at least 3 of the houses are rentals, and so people come and go, and it's a little harder. But one of the best things that has happened in recent times is the formation of this neighborhood association, because now I've met people who don't live on my block and love the potlucks and have found out that I had some connection with some other people around there, and it's nice to have names and know that you know a neighbor that is a few streets away. So.
Thank you for sharing.
And so I moved in here December of 2011. Over Christmas break, winter break, to be politically correct, we purchased this property, which was this church. And the members were too few to be able to continue to pay the mortgage and run the church. So they decided to join different churches with the same congregation. And the school had been renting at a location, the one on Broadway and Craycroft. It's the same congregation. And so the members went over there, the school came over here, and we've been here ever since. We've been slowly converting it into a school. So where we're sitting right now used to be the sanctuary with the stage over here, at the wall. I feel like I spend more time here than I do at my home. And so I want to be a good neighbor to the people that I share the space with here. I would like to do the same thing at my house, but that means I have to do it. I enjoy the feeling of community, the way that I was raised with, I don't know, I think there was 10 aunts and uncles that my grandmother had, and all our cousins and their families and their extended families, and the fact that like we'd go outside to play, and neighbors would scold us and be like, "Are you really gonna do that?" And we'd be like, "No." Or like we got hurt, we'd go to anybody's house and go get Band-Aids or whatever. I want that for kids. I also recognize that currently kids don't have grandparents, and they need that other person to guide them, to explain things to them, because there comes a certain point when kids don't want to listen to their parents. I know because I have a 21-year-old and a 19-year-old. It falls in deaf ears. They need someone else that cares and that's willing to guide them appropriately. And so that's why I started to do everything I can for the neighborhood association. Thank you.
And we greatly appreciate it, because there's a lot we couldn't do if Zoraida didn't make the space available to us, so she's been an amazing partner for this.
Thank you for being here. Yeah, so I have a 7-year-old, so I guess what you're saying, it doesn't get any better listening to the parent thing.
And they're like, "Mom, how do I take care of this?" And I'm like, "Okay, you willing to listen, or you just want me to hear it?"
Yeah.
But the 13-year-old and the 19-year-old, no.
Funny. Well, thank you all for sharing. It's always great to get a sense of your neighborhood and your community. My name is Vanessa Casio. I'm actually the incoming executive director of Living Streets Alliance as of this last August, and happy to be back in Tucson. My family is actually from South Tucson, and so one of my most vivid memories is actually during monsoon season when our streets would flood and we'd go out and swim in the street. So to me, that's when I think of Living Streets. I laugh. I'm like, oh, to me that's very much the image I have of Tucson in my mind. So when Jana reached out to me, she really was talking about sort of this interest in applying for this grant potentially with the city, and hopefully this will be a good sort of precursor to helping you think about your streets and what kinds of things you might want to see, especially kind of with this funding that's available now for neighborhoods in Tucson. So I'm gonna, I guess my goal for this is like to seed some ideas for you, and then we're gonna have some mapping and drawing, and I would love this to be much more interactive than me talking at you all, so that's the goal. But to just like give you all just a sense of who we are, we're a nonprofit organization, so we're a 501c3 local advocacy organization here in Tucson. We've been around for the last 15 years, and really our mission is really to transform our streets into vibrant public spaces for people to be able to safely walk, bike, stroll, and really to provide safe, accessible transportation options for everybody. And so there's a few different ways that we do that. Anybody been to Cyclovia, our open street event? Yay! So we do that twice a year, and we get about 50,000 people where we open up the street for people to walk, bike, and play for the day, several miles of streets, and really be able to demonstrate what our streets could feel like, and have that kind of sense of community that you all have shared. We also have our Safe Routes to School program. That's Ellie's wheelhouse now. We're really about bringing the love of biking and walking to some of our youngest learners in Tucson, and we have programs. We do programming throughout the city, and a lot of our work outside of some of our programs is really about bringing the conversation around transportation to people in our community. And so knowing that it can be hard for people to engage in a public meeting or kind of follow what's going on. So really a lot of our work is about engaging in neighborhoods and bringing opportunities to really talk to people about, oh, what would you like to see to make your streets better, more attractive and safer. In 2018, we worked really closely with the city of Tucson to pass the Complete Streets policy. And we really did that in a series of engagement activities. So Jana, I think you mentioned that you were remember being part of some of those meetings. And really that was part of a two almost 3-year process of engaging community members around what do you want to see in Tucson when it comes to streets and safety and transportation and access, and used all of those stories and data to inform a policy that's now codified within the city. So really now thinking about the city, so the Department of Transportation and Mobility has this charge that anytime they have a new project, they have to think about how are they making it safer for not just people driving, but also people walking and biking and taking public transportation, and really thinking about that in a very holistic way. That was passed several years ago, and since then we've seen some work on the city to really make sure that, do some education with the staff. There's a coordinating council, a citizens oversight council that has some, that the city kind of works with, that's a representative body to make sure that, projects are reflective of what the community needs. But I don't really want to talk about the policy. I want to talk about streets. So that's what we're here for. So before I jump into a bunch of photos of streets, I want to ask you all, and there's no right or wrong answers. Does anybody know what complete streets are, or have an idea, or ever heard of that term? Or maybe that's the first time you've heard of it, and now you're like, oh yeah, what is a complete street? So just need a couple people, any brave souls that
I've never heard of it.
never heard of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Same
I'm
here.
gonna guess.
Take
that
a
it
guess.
has that it accommodates multiple means of getting around.
Oh, that's a good guess. Yeah.
Like transit and cars and bicycles and walking.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else have
Somebody
anything
who
to add?
actually knows.
We're ringers, so we're not gonna answer that.
that.
So what I remember
Okay,
is
yeah.
that streets are for everybody, not just cars. And from like somebody, a woman with her child, in a stroller, all the way to somebody 80 years old, that they can be in the streets, and safe. And also just, there was a lot of different things to slow down traffic and to just make the streets like what they do with their cyclovia. I don't know, she didn't tell us, but there's all kinds of fun activities and stuff like that, and you meet all the different businesses and the neighbors in the area, all the fun activities, and the idea that the streets are for the people, not just cars. And most of our streets in Tucson are for cars. Most of our public spaces are for cars or parking, so.
Well, I think my job is done. I'm gonna leave now. That's exactly it. So really the idea of complete streets is that streets are for everyone, and streets are here to provide us safe, accessible, reliable, and affordable transportation options, regardless of your age, how old you are, whether or not you can walk or bike, whether or not you can drive, and regardless of your income, race, ethnicity. Like, complete streets is really this idea that streets are serving both motorists but also non-motorists, and people in wheelchairs, parents pushing strollers, kids walking and biking to school. They're really here to ensure that everybody's experience of moving through the city is safe, comfortable, convenient, and dignified. So what does that mean in practice? So I'm gonna show you like a series of photos of streets, and we're gonna look at them together. There's a couple of you that actually have these little photo books. These are the same photos you'll find in here. So if you're having trouble looking at the screen closely and want one of those photo books,
Thank you.
a lot of them will be in the same book, so you can reference that. So here's a street. Here's one of the first streets I'm going to show you. It's a neighborhood street. So I have a couple questions for you. My first question is, what do you notice about this street?
It's narrow.
Narrow. Yes.
It has no sidewalks.
Sidewalks.
Speed hump.
Speed hump.
Cars are encroaching onto the street.
And there doesn't seem to be a lot of off-street parking.
Uh-huh. Right. Okay, well, my job is done here. So, so this is what we would call
Meyer
probably,
Avenue.
what's that?
I was just noticing it said Meyer Avenue.
It is Meyer Avenue, yep. This is what I would probably dub kind of like a shared street. So this is when everybody is basically forced to move at the same speed, whether you're walking, biking, or driving. And you're right in your assessment of there is no sidewalk in this, but we would consider this still a complete street.
I live on a no sidewalk street
Yeah.
that's narrower than most of them.
Yeah, and the other thing that you mentioned, that you highlighted, is the streets that are parked on the street, plus the addition of the speed hump, actually serves to slow cars down. So that narrowing kind of forces you actually as a driver to go slower.
But doesn't it, to me that looks sort of scary, if the cars out in the street, like it's gonna force the people who are riding the bikes to go out into the street where the cars are, and people allowed at any time, but.
Yeah, and I think, it really depends on the traffic volume too. So this is very much like a residential kind of area and not a ton of cut through traffic, right? But just knowing that there's these certain sort of treatments that are there and sort of what they end up queuing for drivers.
This is actually, that's a street that I get to bike with a group of like, 3rd and 4th graders on a bit. It's nearby their school, and they actually really love this street. I think they love the colorful homes, the vegetation, all the plants there.
What's the cross street near it?
I don't know, like 18, there's one right nearby there. 2 blocks. What was that?
Is it like Rectorio?
Yeah, kind of close by there. Yeah, just a little bit north of 22nd. But something also maybe to notice that it's a one-way.
Yeah.
So where they come in, so we are biking right down the center of it, but it is very slow traffic on that street.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that. That makes a big difference.
Yeah.
I was picturing two-way traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is one example, and you guys are already showing your urban planning
Yeah.
prowess here. So, okay, this is another residential street on the left, and this is a street that's kind of a residential street but crossing a major street there. So let's look at the picture on the left. What are some things that you notice in that picture?
Okay, well, I want to, go ahead.
Traffic circle.
Yeah, there's a traffic circle with a 4-way stop, which just cracks me up because it's like the traffic circle and the 4-way stop. What's the point of the traffic circle at that point?
It's better than the 2-way stop. though.
And yeah,
Yeah, the two-way stop
Yeah.
confuses everybody.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be a stop.
yeah.
Yeah.
And also, that's a really small traffic circle, I would say. I don't know how much it slows
Oh, at least
traffic
me.
down.
So that's one of the things that we worked with the city on is, and they've started to do with some of the newer build-outs with the bike boulevards, is make the traffic circles much bigger. But the overall intention of the traffic circle is to slow down traffic, right? The stop signs are
And
sometimes,
also to
yeah.
have people only turning right. That's the biggest point of a traffic circle, is everybody's only turning right. There's no left turns.
well,
Yeah.
you can
Except for when they do.
you can
But you had to
turn,
go around the circle.
you
go
can turn
around the
left.
circle and you turn right off of it, no matter how far
You're
out.
saying to take a left, you have to go around the circle.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
yeah, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, there's no left turns across traffic.
Oh,
You
yeah,
say
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, except for the
Correct.
clowns over here that do that anyway, but
Yeah.
that's another
Yeah.
story.
Yeah. Sometimes the stop signs are a little tricky because if the traffic circle is on the bike boulevard,
Mhm.
the intention is bikes can go through
Right.
without stopping, and then you have the stop signs that stop car traffic.
And I think that's what, I was mistaken, I don't think there's stop signs on all the signs. I think they're, the way that the bikes go through, there's no
Yeah,
stop sign.
there's no stop for the bike
And they're on
boulevard, yeah.
Yeah. What else do you notice about this picture on the left?
Sidewalks?
And a pedestrian.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Trees and landscaping, which I think are important attributes for shade and comfort. The curb cuts in the sidewalk, like you mentioned. And then the photo on the right is sort of self-explanatory, but this is a push-button signal that makes it safer and easier to cross, especially if you're on foot and on bike. It helps to stop traffic. I'm gonna move on to the next one. Any other observations?
No, but I do love the hawks, we need more of them.
Yeah. Here's one that I stuck in here because I feel like it's been a very typical Tucson neighborhood street on the left. This is actually 5th Avenue in Leicester. So this is the left is the before and the right is the after. What do you observe about the difference between the left and the right?
Somebody did some landscaping.
That's right.
The city did.
Yeah, there are some chicanes there to make the road narrower and also bring
Yeah.
water in to water the,
You guys know what a chicane is?
No.
So the chicane is a funny term, but it's actually, what it does is it bumps out. This is the chicanes. These are these curb extensions or bump outs that extend out into the street. And it's essentially they narrow the street, creating this slowing effect for drivers to slow down. And then these chicanes also have the passive rainwater harvesting basins, so it helps to water the native vegetation in the planters. The photo, it might be a little bit hard for you on the back to see. It's just another vantage point, but in this neighborhood they have this off-street dirt path that also serves as a safe and comfortable place to walk. And then the trees and vegetation actually serve in as a buffer for people walking
Nice.
there.
Is that, this is over here?
Yeah.
I always like, they're gonna do the green infrastructure, so they should have the bike path over here so that it protects the people who are riding the bike.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and I think it depends on whether or not you're, you know, in a designated bike pool. I don't know if this is a designated bike pool, or I don't think it is, but this is the kind of the reason I included this is the kind of infrastructure that is eligible for the mini grant, is those chicanes, as well as the traffic circles.
And the chicanes being one of the 3 things that they have.
Yeah. But I always like the before and after because I think it really shows such a difference in the streetscape. And this feels to me like more of a neighborhood street, and this feels to me like more of a thoroughfare, just to like zoom through. I want to show you some pictures of maybe streets that don't look like your neighborhood, but I think might be important in developing an awareness of like complete streets. So this is more of a major street. This is downtown. What are some things you might observe in this street? What are some things you notice?
Well, there's the 2-way protected bike lane, which thankfully finally extended farther than it used to in this picture. So you can actually ride down there for a good ways through downtown instead of just a block. But yeah, that's really nice to have that separated from the traffic on the other side.
You got concrete separators of some sort there.
Yeah. Like
This street is wide enough to have designated places for foot traffic, bicycles, and cars,
Yeah.
which, of course, in the neighborhood is less likely.
right.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's really nice.
No, Kevin, you're exactly right. Like this is a major street, and
Yeah.
I think you're right on in that. Oh, there's space. There's a nice ample sidewalk for people to walk. There's space for people to bike. One of the things that you mentioned about the concrete islands are really nice because they are serving as protection from the bikes, but then also what they do, you know, there's only 2 lanes of crossing, so people crossing the street there aren't like exposed to a ton of traffic, right?
Yeah.
So
Looks like it's down near one of the court buildings.
It's the
It is.
CPSC,
Yeah.
County Public Service Center.
Yeah.
It's right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of, I know
There's-
that area, there's a whole bunch of trees over there with, see the trees in the background?
Yeah, the green infrastructure.
Those are some Palo Verde trees, but there's some curb cuts, but unfortunately they put the Palo Verdes in the bottom of them and sometimes they fall over.
Yeah, and then so it's 2 lanes of traffic of cars, and then there's the lane of parked cars there. So that's what you see in the back. So yeah, this is a major street, not a neighborhood street. So you definitely are spot on in that observation. Here's another photo of what we would consider a complete street.
4th Avenue.
It's actually Congress,
Is it Congress? Okay.
but close,
Yeah.
close. But I'm curious what you notice about this street.
Well, University is the
Yeah,
other
university would look like that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we have the streetcar, we have the sidewalks,
It's
we
really
have
nice.
bicycle racks.
Bicycle racks,
Yeah. Benches.
benches,
The planters.
the planters, yeah.
As they keep the cars from going on all the sidewalks.
Yeah. Well, you guys hit on all of it. Really, just knowing like a complete street has a lot of different elements that are not just the street itself, but the other things that make it easier for people to get around. The public transit, the bike parking, and really, you know, people being able to easily support local businesses and all that good stuff. Here's another before and after.
Yes.
So this is Scott Avenue over near the Children's Museum, Armory Park. The top left is the before, and the bottom right corner is the after. So what are some things that you notice?
And that's right about where the
A lot of
Griffin statue
greenery.
is.
A lot of shade.
Yeah.
The shade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's narrower.
Yeah.
It is.
They get it.
They actually, reduce the on-street parking. So I don't know if you noticed in the picture on the left, it might be hard because actually there's no cars actually parked there, but there's parking meters. And so those parking meters no longer are there, and they bumped out the sidewalk there. There's water harvesting here too as well, the curb cuts, benches, bike racks, drinking fountains, public art.
Yeah.
And then the streets, a narrower street, which kind of helps to slow down and calm traffic.
Yeah, that's actually one of my favorite public art pieces, and the one you can't see because it's like right there to your left where this picture is, that big red griffin that's right down there by
yeah.
the Masonic
Yeah.
Rites Temple. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, this is not a street you're gonna recognize. This is a street in San Diego. But I like the example. This is one that we use because it's, you know, kind of more of a business kind of corridor. The top is the before, and the bottom two are the after. So what are some things that you notice about?
Divided traffic.
What's that?
I said divided traffic.
Yeah.
All the plants.
Yeah, a lot of landscape.
Where are the cars that are parked over here parking now?
Looks like there's still
There's still
parking over there.
parking.
Yeah, it's right over there.
It's
Yeah,
just
there's
that-
still on-street parking.
Generous crosswalk.
Yeah, that's enhanced. Those big, high visibility crosswalks, crossing islands, that's what we call, that divides the crossing into two stages. So you have a little island in the middle, so if you're crossing, you can take a little break there and wait for the other lane of traffic. Yeah, and a lot of the beautification and things like that you see.
And more people on the road in the bottom one than
Yeah.
I don't see any people on the sidewalks or anything at the top.
Yeah. Okay, so I know this is not a place that we would say is like Tucson. This is New York City. But I think it's a really fun example to show people of a before and after, and sort of what you, because like one of the things that we, you know, hear are concerns like, oh, is complete streets expensive? Is it an expensive thing? And like one of the things that you'll notice in the next few slides I'll show you is a lot of what we're changing about the street is mostly using paint. And so paint is relatively less expensive than other kind of hard infrastructure elements, right? But so what is one of the things that you notice as the difference between the before and the after photo?
There's a transit lane.
Yep.
The parking is kind of segregated, separated, because there's little islands there that, you know, would make
Like the parking is, the parked cars are protecting the bike lane.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the bike lane over there. Yes. Interesting.
And the crosswalk has some protection around it.
Yep.
So,
So yeah, one of the things that like similar to the one in Tucson is like, oh, everybody sort of has their space, right? The bus has their space, the bikes have their space, people on the sidewalk have their space, and everything is clearly delineated, really just using mostly paint with some of the, you know, the concrete poured in the middle for the median.
is that the two cars on the left, and then there's a slanted area, is that like a turn lane of some sort?
Oh, this piece here, the buffer?
No, up above, in front of that yellow, that section.
I think it's a turn lane.
Yeah, okay.
For cars.
It marked,
Yeah, this is a one-way street, right?
the
So-
marking with paint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, here's another example of a before and after. This is comes from Austin. So the top left corner is before, and the one on the right is the after. Yeah, what do you notice?
Well, we put the bicycles in the protected area.
Yeah.
But that's not even raised, is it?
It is not raised.
So the only thing that could be them are those planters.
Concrete planters and some paint.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think one of the things that is helpful when I see these kinds of photos is the footprint of the space, right? And knowing like, oh, when we look at a street, there's actually a lot of space available to reallocate to people waiting for the bus rapid transit, for people biking, and this is a good way to test out reallocation of space before investing in the elevated platforms and some more of the hard infrastructure elements.
I've seen some plants in Tucson where they tried to do the same thing and people totally ignore it, but.
What's that?
I've seen parts of Tucson where they do try to do the paint thing and people completely ignore it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just, yeah.
What parts of Tucson?
Well, like, is that Sixth Avenue, the one that's parallel with Fourth Avenue, where there's a bar? And then they put a whole bunch of planters and painted stuff. But also, I think they were trying to encourage people, let's do there's a cool thing that happened in New York where they made Times Square, like just for people, like so all the tourists could walk around instead of cars going through it. I think they were trying to do that, but it stinks in that area, and yeah, nobody was using it for that purpose.
And that was 6th and 7th, and I don't know that it's that bad anymore because now you've got the pickleball facility there, and it's right over by, which coffee shop is that? There's Exo,
Yeah.
The only time I saw people using that area for like sitting around was when they were painting it.
Yeah. Well, I think, yeah, and we were part of that project, the Corvette Porch project.
Yeah.
And so what we did was do some before and after data collection, in particular for people. One of the biggest issues at that intersection was cars not yielding to pedestrians.
Right.
And so what we did find is that the yielding rate increased with the sort of narrowing of the street. So yeah, but that has since been kind of pulled out, and there's some infrastructure there now that's helpful. Here's another example of some curb extensions that, again, using some paint and flex posts. This is not in Tucson, this is in Austin, Texas. Yeah, so anything, this is not a before and after, so it's hard to kind of see what the difference was. But some of the things that happen with the curb extensions are that the crossing distance shortens, so that makes it much safer for people crossing. It also makes cars slow down, it makes the turn tighter, which helps to slow down cars. So yeah, the next photo I have here.
And this last one is what you did by the Children's Museum too, right? Because I mean, it's pretty
Yeah.
much the same thing. What they have,
The curb
the
extension.
painted extension with just some, either, I don't know if they're metal bollards or just the plastic.
Yeah,
one,
so
but-
now the city, so I'll show you a picture. You can't really see that. They're, what we use now are these plastic bollards that look a little bit more stable than the delineators,
Right.
even though they're just as flexible, but people don't know that.
Still don't wanna hit it.
Yeah, they look a little bit more intimidating. This is a project that we did on 5th Avenue and 7th Street. And this is a little bit of a harder, I don't know if you can tell, but the left is like the footprint of what existed, and the right is how we ended up painting the street. So one of the things that you'll notice is there's actually a lot of street here, and it's still a two-way pattern of traffic. Yeah. So it's still two ways, and what we essentially did was just narrow it. That helps to slow down cars. Is there anything else that you see in the after photo?
Well, there are what are those little white roofs?
These rectangles.
rectangle.
In the middle of,
In
like
the
in the
middle.
middle.
Oh,
of
you know what
the-
these are? These are tents actually.
Yeah.
From the painting event, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not
Yeah.
permanent.
Sorry, that's just crazy.
That's an improvement.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm,
The sidewalk, I like how thick the white lines are.
yeah,
It makes it really obvious, oh, this is the sidewalk area, don't
Yeah.
stop there.
Oh, yeah.
crossing.
Oh, the crosswalk?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, so those are like the high visibility crosswalks. There's stop bars before it that are painted, so it makes people stop. Yeah, this is another good example of we actually did before and after data to test like the effectiveness and car speeds and
Where did they
yielding.
pick this area? Were there accidents happening? I know that's near the children's museum.
So yeah, this is right off of 4th Avenue, 4th Avenue businesses.
Oh, it's not the children's.
Yeah, no, this is just near Corbett's, and in part this was, I don't know why this particular area was chosen, but it was a partnership with 10 West, and they helped to subsidize it.
Oh, that
as a
explains the
demo.
color scheme.
Yeah, yeah. But it's, I think what some of these projects have really done is like help showcase like, oh, to the city that they could use these types of treatments in other parts of town, right? Sort of a proof of concept.
Yeah.
I have a question about, do you know the block or the area of Sarnoff just south of Broadway?
I don't know it personally.
There's a church, there are businesses, there's a car wash, there's a Dairy Queen, and when they repaved the street, they remarked, re-striped, remarked everything, and the neighbors were trying to figure out where they were supposed to go with their cars and complained a lot, and now they have these white holes
Yeah.
and things have been, I go there a lot because I volunteer with a group that has an office in the church building.
Yeah.
That's there, and every time I drive there, I go, why did they do this?
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure.
I don't know the project intimately, so I can't speak to it.
It's,
So.
to my mind, it's unique to Tucson. I've never seen it anywhere else. That's why I thought maybe it was something that would stand out that you would
Yeah.
know about.
I've heard that there's some community concern about it, and I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't actually know what the design is.
No.
Yeah. I will give the city credit though for trying some innovative things. So
Yeah,
I think
it
it's
was
more
like-
about the engagement and education piece that.
Well, just with the markings on the street, people were having difficulty, and then they put the pillars in to
Yeah.
kind of say, you have to go around that.
Yeah,
if you're gonna
right.
do things.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Good question though. We can ask the city next in a couple weeks about that one.
See if anybody knows
Um,
what's going on.
I have a few more photos and then we can kind of transition into talking about your neighborhood, but hopefully this is kind of seeding some sense around like streets and how we use them. There's
That's
another.
that kind of thing right there.
Is that
It's
it?
like well, it's not that same street, but it's that type of thing that's been done
Mm-hmm.
to direct people around something with curved lines and those white,
Bollards kind of things.
yeah.
So those are, yeah, so that's what I was saying, those are actually flexible. And so they can be, the nice thing is that they actually can be pulled out really easily.
I haven't seen anybody's hit them yet.
Yeah.
Because the speed limit is 25 miles on that road.
Yeah, and so, yeah, part of the reason why sort of this kind of infrastructure is attractive is because if it doesn't work well, which sometimes it doesn't, it's not like you're pouring concrete in the ground.
Yeah.
So what is something that, so the top left here is the before, and the bottom right is the after. What are some things that you might notice of the picture there?
Parking is out farther from the curb.
Yeah,
Right.
they switched up the parking.
Um,
To protect that bike lane, which I always appreciate.
Oh, is that a bike lane?
That is a bike lane.
Oh, okay, so
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it looks like this is probably sort of an interim treatment before they put in maybe something that's more permanent.
Mhm.
So, yeah, this is not in Tucson, though.
Oh.
So maybe you can get some photos of Sarnoff and we can.
Well, the area on Sarnoff is it's just south of Broadway. There's a Dairy Queen that is very popular.
Okay.
And cars will be lined out, I mean, the
Oh,
line's
yeah.
in the street.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know if they were trying to solve some issue with the way the cars lined up to get into the Dairy Queen.
Sure.
But sure.
Yeah, maybe so. Okay, 2 more photos.
Definitely not Tucson.
Definitely not Tucson.
Mm.
But we like to show this one because it's a cool sort of reallocation of space for people to use.
Outdoor eating
Yeah.
space.
There's actually something sort of like that downtown if you go towards the museum, the art museum, where they put a restaurant in there and then they just put some seats like on the side over there.
By like the Presidio?
Yeah, yeah, that
Oh,
one
yeah.
little stretch.
Yeah.
where the-
You're
yeah.
right, Jen.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the last photo is another fun one. Yeah, before the top photo, just look at that one. And then the bottom one is after. Anything stand out?
A generous bike lane and they switch the parking to the other side,
Yeah.
Yep.
or to own, yeah, the other side.
Yeah. Eliminated.
Yep, and then is that, in the middle, is that like a BRT stop or something, or just a transit stop, or?
I think it's just like a seating area for,
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Benches?
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, that's Complete Streets in a nutshell. Different iterations, right? Different
Paint.
kinds of
The operative word is paint.
paint and space, thinking about our space
Space, but
differently that we
paint.
have,
And
right?
there's a point of, I mean, I don't, so far I don't see like that kind of thing working very well in Tucson where they put the thing is, but the idea is that, the community meeting places, that if there's places like that in your neighborhood, that people will stop and, especially if that isn't shaded in Tucson, it would be,
Oh,
help
yeah.
to be shaded, but if you have a shaded little area that's like, maybe got a little library or some benches and stuff like that, it encourages people to talk to each other
Yeah.
and
Yep.
create community, rather than everything being just for the cars and
Yeah.
moving around.
Yeah,
So
and again,
I'm in Barrio Hollywood, that's where I live, and we have benches spaced every so often, and then we have trash cans every so often. And it's really cute, because by the time we're going home in the evenings, there'll be lots of people mingling and walking their dogs, and the neighbor ladies will stop, and they'll start gossiping, and they'll start talking, and then they'll keep going. And there's bikers coming back and forth, going places, sometimes they've got their kids in the back, and during the daytime, you don't see it as much, but in the evenings, as the sun starts to go down, you'll see all these people just come out of nowhere, and they just mingle, and then they just go back to their little areas.
Yeah.
It's really comforting, and it makes me feel very safe.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And that's a complete street. And yeah.
yeah, and again, I know you had several examples, but that has really shortened the pedestrian crossing distance too, which if you're crossing something like freaking Colburn Speedway, you really appreciate something that's got a short crossing like that.
No, you're totally right, man.
That one street where, like, I guess there's a lot of accidents because it takes too long for people to get all the way across. the
Yeah,
street.
Colburn Speedway is a bad one for that.
That's a good segue. I'm not going to lecture into why this is very important, Complete Streets. That's why we left you with some fact sheets. But the one thing I'll leave you with, because if you follow the news in Tucson at all, you probably are aware that our streets are really dangerous in Tucson, especially for people walking. We're the third most dangerous city in the country for people walking. And so, you know, Complete Streets is one of the tools that the city has to start to address that with safety elements. But one of the reasons why Complete Streets in particular is really important is because what we know is that it helps to slow down cars. And if you're like me, who is somebody who lives and breathes this stuff every day, sometimes I do find myself driving down Broadway and I'm like, oh shoot, how am I going 45 already? I'm like above the speed limit.
Like reduce the speed
Yeah.
limit.
And so what we know is that speed limit signs actually don't do much, even for the most conscientious driver, to reduce speeds. And the most effective way that we can reduce speeds is by building that into the street itself. And so the infographic here it's a pretty simple equation in that the faster cars are going, the more likely it is if they hit somebody walking that it will result in a fatality. I think the most surprising thing to me though, in looking at this infographic, is that the difference between a street that's 20 miles an hour, which, you know, if you're walking, you know, have a much better chance of surviving if the car is going that slow, even versus 30 miles an hour, where, you know, only 5 out of 10 pedestrians will survive. Because as a driver, I'm like, 30 miles an hour doesn't actually seem that fast.
It hurts.
It hurt, yeah. Yeah, and it could be deadly, right? And so a lot of, you know, the sort of one of the benefits of Complete Streets is it helps to slow down cars, which is a biggest factor in like fatality rates. Now this is for people walking, but we would argue as well, like if you've ever been in a motor vehicle collision, motorists, like you're also more likely to be injured, severely injured or die because of how fast those cars are going, right? So the benefits of Complete Streets are not just for people walking, but for really people driving as well. So I'll leave you with some fact sheets, but that's really Complete Streets in a nutshell. So now that you have all this great information, now it's your turn to redesign your streets, or at least start to think about your streets, right? And so Dan has graciously printed off some maps of Pinecrest, the Pinecrest Neighborhood. So now it's your turn. So get your creative thinking hats on, right? Imagine how you travel in your neighborhood. So maybe you drive through your neighborhood, maybe you walk, but only walk to certain places. So think about how you travel. And then I want to also think about how others get around in your neighborhood. So maybe it's your neighbor kids or an elderly person who likes to go to the park or etc. So think about sort of the mobility that you yourself have and then others in your community have. And sort of with those sort of lenses, you have an assignment with this map. So to start getting you thinking about your community and your area, there's a few different questions, and Dan actually has it very concisely put on this suggested markings here. Thank you, Dan.
You're welcome.
So the first sort of thing I want you to think about is the assets. So what are the good things, the good features that make your streets in your neighborhood feel comfortable, safe, convenient? I would say especially for people walking and biking, or even taking public transit through the neighborhood. So if your perspective is that of driving, what I would challenge you to think about is, where do you think that there's like conflict with people walking and biking, or areas where slower car speeds might help? or cut through traffic patterns, which you might want to identify in the challenges area. So the assets are the good things. Challenges are the obstacles or things that make your streets feel dangerous. So maybe there's particular areas. So the map is really helpful because it can help you actually pinpoint those areas. Destinations, so maybe there are destinations within your neighborhood that are important to your neighbors, whether you're traveling to them or just important landmarks that might be helpful to know. You might want to mark down where you live. That would be helpful to understand the perspective your feedback is coming from, because I know I live on the outskirts of my neighborhood, so I see very different things than people on the other side of the neighborhood, so that's helpful information. You might want to mark the routes that you commonly travel. You can also mark routes that you wish you could travel if it felt safer. So you have a little bit of homework, where I'm going to give you some time, probably about like 10 minutes, and we can do a little check-in. I have markers, and I have stickers. Whatever your mode is, we have pens. Any questions about the assignment?
I think Sarita should do it too.
Yes, I need a map.
Okay.
I will stop for the big one.
You know, one of the things, you showed a lot of pictures during the meeting.
Yep.
And so there's no night pictures.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like.
We don't have lighting, because
Exactly.
that's
So there's a
too
lot,
solid.
exactly, and I only live, a block and a half away from here.